D&D players, what's the most awesome or evil thing you've ever accomplished? Part 4. Most evil thing would be when, after my party and I killed a town, we found some recent orphans hiding in a cellar. I got a nat 20 and convinced them that we were the heroes and drove off the ones who killed their town. Long story short, I made them into child soldiers loyal to me under the pretense of finding the ones who killed their friends and family. All the while, me and the rest of the party, whom they were loyal to and admired, were the actual killers. As a bard, I successfully managed to lay an ancient red dragon. I knew it was a female, and I got a feat that would allow me to add a bardic inspiration die to persuasion and performance rolls. As a reward for such an amazing feat, I was given a blood transfusion from the dragon to gain the benefits of a draconian ancestry sorcerer and proficiency in constitution saves. However, my alignment changed to chaotic evil. Tricked my chaotic good party to commit atrocities because I was the paladin, thus he surely isn't evil. It was the typical good versus evil campaign, so I talked to my DM about playing a lawful evil paladin of conquest. They all had tragic backstories. That's when he decided, yes, broken people, they'll do fine. I was able to convince them we were slaughtering everyone from the enemy faction, was right, and ordained by the gods as they were a scourge. Let me tell you about my gnome bard Budo Bryn. Gnome bard extraordinaire. Yes, you do have to say the whole thing. Was a master of the bardic knock spell. Every time we needed into a place, he'd march himself up to the front gate, door, etc., and knock. The guards would open the door and look around, but gnomes are only around 2 feet tall, so they missed him entirely, to which he responded by knifing and/or crossbowing them in the ankles before taking a small iron club to their noggins. It worked every single time. My group was low level, hadn't eaten in so long they were taking damage from it, and didn't have enough money between them to buy food. So, being a kind GM, I decide that a lost child wanders by looking for his mom so they can get some food and money as a reward. Everyone got quiet for a moment, and this look passed between the players. 10 minutes later, they were cooking that kid's corpse over a fire. Once, in a setting that mingled modern technology and magic, I played a mage who was in an aerial fight. Jets from 3 separate armies were streaking past each other, launching missiles and spraying bullets. But I couldn't fly a plane or aim their weapons, so I was stuck teleporting from jet to jet and killing their pilots with cantrips until the skies were clear. I didn't take out all of the jets, of course, but I was able to make it pretty much a massacre all around and survive. Later on in that same campaign, there was a warrior nation that was powerful by virtue of enslaving powerful monsters, including dragons, that crashed in on a big battle between our faction and an evil empire. Again, using my handy teleport spell, I was able to teleport around and free those dragons and convince them to aid us, in the end attacking the Death Knight that led the Imperial Army with the help of 2 of them and concluding a war that had been going on since the start of the campaign. I had all of 1 damaging spell, the rest was all utility, and no martial weapon ability at all. I was one badass kobold. I can't really highlight a single awesome thing I did, so I'll just tell the story of the character I played the longest and did the most with. He was a human paladin called Valen Egan. The last name is a play on words. Originally, I didn't give him a last name, so when the DM asked what his last name is, I just went, yes, which in my language is Egan. So the DM told me, okay, his last name is Egan, but deliberately written wrong. He was the first character I ever played. His backstory was that he was the bastard son of a local noble, and he left his home when he was a kid because nobody in the household truly loved or respected him. He was taken in by a monastery where he dedicated his life to serving the gods and helping the poor. But his main goal was to do something in his life that would finally earn him the respect of his father and his peers. So we start out the campaign pretty small, of course, but I did my best with him. Always in the front line, always fighting. He wasn't the brightest. I rolled a 6 on my intelligence, but he did his best. As the campaign progressed, he started to do bigger shit. He ran into a burning tavern and saved 5 people while the rest of the party was trying to fight the fires burning the rest of the town. He helped find a mind flayer hidden at another monastery and helped kill him as well. He killed an evil necromancer before he could take over a fort in the area. He did many great things, but in the end, he killed a dragon. He did the one thing most paladins dream of doing one day. So he went back to his father to tell him about all of the things he accomplished. To show him he did become something great, not just the bastard of a noble. The DM was feeling in a generous mood, so he made it so his father was sick and on his deathbed when we arrived. Turns out, his only legitimate son, the one to inherit his title, died in battle a few years ago. After hearing what Valen accomplished, the DM just said, he names you a legitimate son of his, and also his heir. Days later, the man died, and Valen Igan, born a bastard and now a noble lord, is now an NPC in our campaigns. Sometimes he gives us quests, sometimes he lets us stay in his castle, sometimes he does nothing at all, but he's there, and he achieved what he wanted, and so much more. One of the most evil things I did in one of my campaigns was put a mine owner out of business. I used locate object and mold earth to dig up a metric crap ton of valuable minerals and ores till there was nothing valuable nearby to dig up. I then waited till he was nearly out of business to buy his business and started a new mine elsewhere with his workers. I gave them trinkets to cast detect objects, which would find any nearby valuables for them to dig up, and also gave the workers equipment to improve work conditions, reducing their workdays to 8 hours. Hashtag rolling in dough. Oh, easy. I was on the ancient AD&D list back in 2nd edition, and a GM came to us with a problem. He had a player that wanted a firearm that did 1d1 damage. Now, back then, a gun that rolled max damage got to roll again and add the damage to the roll. So, infinite damage is what the player wanted. All the DMs freaked out and told him not to allow that gun into the game. Me? I said, give it to him as advertised. The list freaked out once again. So I explained, when the player fires the gun of doom for the first time, take him to the bathroom and tell him he can't rejoin the game until he finishes rolling for damage. Then return to the other players, explain that the target disappeared and the landscape has a massive trench blasted into it, with the player's PC laying on the ground all glassy-eyed and drooling, and wait for the idiot player to start yelling. When he comes back all ticked off, you explain to him that the other player that is his PC is busy counting to infinity and to roll up a new character. I got a reputation for being the most evil DM ever. Wonder why. Playing a lawful neutral fighter/rogue, aka sociopathic Disney princess, in a group of good characters. Low to mid-level, about 3 to 4, in an elf nation's capital when evil army of darkness attacks. Elf King gives us about 400 gold pieces, not nothing, but not a whole lot, to kill the enemy commander. Enemy commander is epic bad guy. Destroys Elf Capital and wanders off before we ever get near him. Fast forward to 2 to 3 years later, real time. Party is high, 17 to 19 level, has caught up to and killed epic bad guy right before he and his armies kill the gods. Sociopathic Disney princess uses a boon she received from epic bad guy's father to inherit epic bad guy's nation and armies. Sociopathic Disney princess makes sure paladin, ranger, mage all get home safe, then returns to the throne of the gods and says,
I have traveled through time and across the plains, conquered nations and killed the specter of death itself, all to assassinate the apocalypse. I did all of this because I was hired to do so by the king of
Elf City.
For 400 gold. I am presently without a contract. I believe that it is in your best interests to hire me before anyone else does.
Intimidated the gods into giving her a divine mandate to conquer the world to bring about world peace. As a cleric, we were once tasked with destroying an invasion force's resupply ships as they entered harbor. Part of the plan involved a distraction to keep the enemy soldiers busy. So my brother's character bought a bunch of black powder illegally and bombed the city's market, throwing alchemists' fire at survivors and causing general chaos. The fire spread quickly, and we decided to flee without the cart we had come with. It was only as we were leaving the city that my brother realized he had left his remaining black powder and the dark light metal he had also illegally procured with the cart. The fire had reached the inn at this point and blew up the cart, scattering dark light metal throughout the city. Why is this evil? Because this metal was a very dense, intrinsically toxic metal that had been used for certain weapons until it was outlawed. In fact, the symptoms of the disease it caused and qualities the DM described it as having suggested to me that it was actually plutonium. So that's right, we managed to dirty bomb a city in a Renaissance-era campaign setting. I had a wizard rogue character that learned to do a shite ton of all the dice imaginable in one turn. I've been planning this for weeks with my group because I was heading to college. I asked my DM if we could change the rule on magic warding to ignore the 10-foot dispel, and he okayed it. You know where this is going. I essentially made 20 explosive glyph of warding, all with different spells and damage effects like all explosive glyphs, magic missiles, cloud of daggers, color spray, and more. Big smiley face. I slapped them all onto a vest and had the spell trigger be yelling, "I wield the powers of the arcane! Now taste oblivion!" We were able to get to our big bad evil guy, and with a smile of acknowledgement from me and the DM, I ripped off my coat to reveal my vest. Everyone quickly realized my intentions. I ran to the boss and took out the majority of sewers and a quarter of the abandoned town full of demons. I was lucky that I remembered to give them their teleportation scrolls I made, and I was happy to hear that I also killed the fucking scavenger gnome that stole my rations. All in all, good session. My companions and I were fighting a bunch of drow black knights with super jagged swords on the rooftops of their underground city. We managed to kill 2/3 of them, but my companions were unconscious, and at the end of the duel between my human paladin, Prince Davion, and this really nasty drow knight, he finally got the better of me and impaled me with his jagged black sword. The DM said that as I was dying, I could do one last thing. So I picked up the knight, jamming the blade in even deeper by the throat, and threw him off the side of the building, which was like a 100-foot drop or something. I then immediately passed out, but I had defeated the last one and died like a hero, I thought. Then later, a drow priestess healed me and my companion so they could torture us as much as they wanted. So I didn't really die. LOL. Hello, my sweet little egg custards. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, if you think you've got a story you'd like us to tell or you have any feedback you'd like to share with us, please let us know with your comments. This channel wouldn't exist without you, so we want to make sure we're making it about you. In case you are just tuning in for the first time, our glorious leader, senpai, and father of chaos, Mr. Ripper himself, has never actually played a game of D&D. Shock, horror, disdain. So we've decided that to celebrate 50k subs when we get there, Papa's playing some fucking D&D live on this channel. So stay tuned for that. Please sub for Nat 20s, and remember, don't eat the yellow snow.